Hi, in this video we are going to be talking about order of operations, and we use the order of operations in order to simplify numeric expressions. Here's a type of numeric expressions that I'm talking about: 5 plus 3 times 4 minus 2. One of the things that I want to talk to you about is these little things right here: the addition, the multiplication, the subtraction, and if there was another one over here that looks like this, the division. Also, if there's anything that looks like this, or here the little exponent, okay, and even if you have something else that looks maybe like this means multiplication whenever there is no numbers. When there is no symbol, there's two numbers separated by parentheses, that means multiplication. Now if there's something inside parentheses like 3 plus 4, and that's parentheses, then that means that you have to do the operation inside the parentheses first. But if it's just a number inside the parentheses and then there's another number right beside it, that means you multiply. Okay, so I want to make sure I point out every kind of operation that we're going to be dealing with. We are going to be dealing with addition, with multiplication, with subtraction, with division, with exponents, and with parentheses. Okay, and this is called the order of operations because it matters which order you go in. I know you probably heard this before in 6th grade, and you probably referred to it as PEMDAS, but PEMDAS is not the correct name for this. The correct name is order of operations, or as I like to call it, the triple O, because you have there's an O, there's an O, and there's an O. So when I refer to it as the triple O, O, that means order of operations. Okay. Anyways, let's go ahead and evaluate. And to evaluate means that you're going to be finding the value of the numerical expression. In other words, you're going to be solving for it. Okay. So order of operations. Here's the steps that we're going to be following. The first step is to evaluate any of the expressions inside grouping symbols. These are probably the ones that you see the most, and they're probably going to be the only ones that you see. But they might give you other grouping symbols like these parentheses. But all these are parentheses except they look different. These we call parentheses. These we call kind of square brackets. And this we call them, I don't know what we call them, squiggly lines. You can choose however you want to call it, but you need to know that all three of them, they're grouping symbols. You group things together with those, and you do those first. That's why it's number one. You do anything that looks like this parentheses, any kind of grouping symbols first. Then you're going to evaluate all the powers, and the powers is this little bitty number up here, the exponent. Okay, so if it's 2 to the third power, that means you're going to multiply 2 times 2 times 2. That little 3 tells you how many times you're going to be multiplying the big number, the base, by. Okay, and then you do 2 at a time. So 2 times 2, that's going to give me 4. And then you still have to multiply by this last 2. So if you bring it down, you have 4 times 2, which gives you the answer 8. Quick little example of what the powers mean. Now on the number 3 is to multiply or divide in order from left to right. This is the most important part right here, left to right. Whichever one comes first in order from left to right is the one that you do. And then we're going to add or subtract in the same way, in order from left to right, whichever one comes first. Okay, so now let's talk about some examples and then we'll be done. Let's see. The first example here is 5 plus the quantity 12 minus 3. So notice that they have parentheses right here. And the way that I want to write this, some of you probably write this on the side. I've seen a lot of students do this before in the past, where you write PEMDAS. And I know that you know that PEMDAS means parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. And the quick, easy way of remembering that is please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, right? P for please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So Remember that PEMDAS, or please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, we're talking about the order of operations. And usually we write it just like I just did, but I want you to modify it because it's very important for you to know that the M and the D in the PEMDAS, they go together, okay? It's PEMDAS. M and D go together, and the A and the S go together because the addition and subtraction, you have to do them in order from left to right, whichever one comes first. And the multiplication and division, you also have to do them in order from left to right, whichever one comes first. So if you're going to write the PEMDAS over here to the side to remind you what is it that you do first, and then the next step, and then the next step, and then the last step, you need to make sure that you write it like this: the M and the D next to each other, and the A and the S next to each other. That way you remember that the multiplication and the division is one step and one step together, and you do it in order from left to right, and also for the addition and subtraction. So hopefully this will help you remember that information. So now let's talk about this first example. We have a parenthesis here, so we have to take care of whatever's inside the parentheses. Since we have a subtraction symbol, we're going to subtract 12 minus 3, that gives me 9. So now I can get rid of the parentheses because I've solved everything inside the parentheses, but I still have the addition of 5 plus 9. So 5 plus 9 is going to give me 14, and that's my final answer. Okay, now let's look at this one over here. I don't have any parentheses, so I don't have any P to worry about. The P is taken care of. The E is also taken care of because we don't have any powers, we don't have any exponents. But we do have multiplication, and we don't have any division, so the only thing that comes first is this little multiplication. So we're going to take care of these two numbers right here, 3 times 2, and 3 times 2 is 6. Now we're going to copy the rest of the problem down, and you have 8 minus 6 plus 7. So which one do I do first, the minus or the plus? Well, whichever one comes in order from left to right, whichever one comes first. And because this one comes first in order from left to right, we're going to do the subtraction. So 8 minus 6 is going to give me a 2, and then I'll have to bring down my plus 7 on my next step, and that's the only step that I have left because 2 plus 7 is 9, so that's my final answer. Okay, I'm going to let you do these two the same manner that I did these two on the top, okay? So make sure you finish your notes whenever you're done watching this video. Okay, here's two more examples. Again, we'll do these two and then you'll do these two. So here we go. First one we have to take care of is this little exponent right here. We don't have any parentheses, so we can go straight into the exponent. And this is the exponent, so I'm going to do this right here first. 3 to the second power means 3 times 3. So I'm going to write that down like this so that I know what I'm doing. And because I have to do this first, 3 times 3 is going to give me 9. So now I'm left with 5 times 9 minus 7. Now the next thing that comes in line, according to my PEMDAS or order of operations, I didn't have any parentheses. I did have the exponents and they're done. Multiplication or division would be next. And since I do have multiplication, I'll do that first. 5 times 9 is 45, and then I have to subtract 7. So now it's addition or subtraction. And we don't have any addition, but we do have a subtraction symbol. So 45 minus 7 gives me 38. And that's my final answer. Okay, and then this one over here, we have exponents, we have parentheses, we have division, and we have subtraction. We have 4 operations going on. So which one do I do first? Well, I'm going to go and look at my PEMDAS. Parentheses first. So 5 minus 1 is what I need to do first. 5 minus 1 is 4. So now all I have is this little exponent, and then I have my division by 4. So 4 to the second power divided by 4. What do I do next? The exponent or the division? Well, second step is the E for exponent, so I got to do that next. So 4 to the second power does not mean 4 times 2. If you're thinking the answer is going to be 8, then you're thinking wrong. And you need to be careful with that. 4 to the second power means 4 times 4. Because this little number, the exponent, tells you how many times you multiply the big number times itself. So if that was a 3, then it would have been 4 times 4 times 4. In this case, it's just a 2, so it's just 4 times 4. Okay, and then I'm going to copy the rest of the problem down. Now I have multiplication, right? Because that's what the exponent means. So 4 times 4 gives me 16. And then finally you divide 16 by 4. 16 divided by 4 is 4. So my answer is just 4. Okay, your turn to do these two. And go ahead and push pause on the video if you need to do them, and then we can do this application problem together. Okay, the application problem says Paul is buying 3 video games at $50 each, plus an extra video controller for $24. Write an expression that can be used to find the total that Paul spent. Okay, so let's highlight or underline the keywords in this problem. He's buying 3 video games. Maybe that's important. The number 3. Sometimes they'll give you numbers with words. They don't show you the actual number. So I advise you to go ahead and write down the number 3 as a number so you don't miss it when you work out the problem. And he's buying those 3 video games, and each one of them costs $50 plus tax. So that $50, that might be important. $50 each. Okay. And then he also bought oh, it's not plus tax, it's plus an extra video controller. So the video controller is $24. So they want us to write an expression. So we're going to have to just write an expression that can be used to find the total that Paul spent. Okay, so we can do a couple of things. If we have 3 video games and each one is $50, I can write 50 plus 50 plus 50, right? Well, since we are a little bit smarter than elementary kids, where elementary kids, they start off adding and adding and adding the same thing until they develop the multiplication concept, we can go ahead and use the multiplication concept, and we can go ahead and multiply 3 times 50. That's going to give me the price for all 3 video games. But then here's this word right here, plus. And plus means that we're going to have to add, and we're going to add the cost of the video controller, which is $24. So this is the expression that they want us to write. So make sure that if it says write an expression, you have something that looks like this: numbers being multiplied, added, subtracted, something of that kind. Now the next thing I would have to do is find how much total Paul spent. So I'm going to follow my order of operations. And my order of operations is please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Notice multiplication and division are together because they are done in order from left to right. And so is addition and subtraction. So the first thing I notice is I don't have any parentheses. I also notice that I don't have any exponents, so this should be pretty easy. The next thing is I do have multiplication and I have no division. So I know that I don't have to divide anything, but I do have to multiply these two. So 3 times 50. 3 times 5 is 15, right? So 3 times 50 is 15 with a 0 behind it, 150. And then the last thing I have to do is add. So I already took care of the multiplication. I don't have any subtraction, so I don't need to do it. But when I add, I have 150 plus 24. That's going to give me 174. So how much money did he spend total? He spent $174. That's the application problem.